Good evening to everybody around the world. My name is Scott Schertzen, alongside Mr. Ryan O'Regan, Mr. Robert Leckington, and of course, Mr. JT McGuire. We are going to talk a lot of stuff today on Tales from the Film Set, but first, bear with me for a second. I got to go through the legal stuff first.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm sorry. That's a part of it. But yeah, Tales from the Film Set is part of Spanglish World Network. You can see it on Zingo TV channel 250. When you download the Zingo TV app, make sure to rate the app on the iOS and Android devices. The app is free of charge, so they welcome your comments, your input. Obviously, they're not charging you for it. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. And that's going to do it. So we're good. Moving onward. Hope you gentlemen are doing well tonight. My name, like I said, is Scott Schertzen, and this is Tales from the Film Set, where we discuss all things in manner of pop culture, hot topics with the experience firsthand of working in the film industry. We have a ton of stuff that we're going to be breaking in tonight. Most notably, we're going to be talking Seth Rogen, what's happened with him in the last month in a couple of different arenas. I think in a lot of ways has hurt his reputation and has given me some great concerns when it comes to the film industry as well. We're also going to be talking a little Disney, a little Hawkeye, and you know what? Taking time for the questions you guys have, whatever thoughts, ideas, compliments, or complaints you guys have, let us know. This show is basically Film Set Tales on Twitter, but everywhere else, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and also YouTube at Tales from the Film Set. So, gentlemen, how are we doing?
Oh, that's not going to laugh. That's concerning.
So,
well, why the laughter?
Yeah, I was going to say that's
we're all talking at once.
Now you got me all scared. It's like,
exactly. How you doing, JT? You all right over there?
To me, I be, and terrible things I see. Normally, Christmas is tee-hee, but after what I watched, OG.
Nice. And what did you say? And by the way, OG as in Oh God or Original Gangsta?
Oh God.
Okay.
And not the one that she shouts. So when you're in bed together, the one that I shout after watching Santa Inc.
Okay. So all right. So then we're going to go right down the pipe on that one. All right. So yeah, we're going to be talking a little Santa Inc. Seth Rogen, somebody that I've always kind of liked. I did stand in for Seth Rogen once on a movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was a really cool guy. So I admit I'm a little bit torn in this particular case because of some of the negative publicity and blowback that's happening. Rebecca, if you can do me a favor, pull up that first pick. This is something that I created as a thumbnail, which I'm going to break down a couple of different things in here when it comes to Santa Inc. Because right now, Santa Inc. is an HBO Max series that has a 4% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The IMDb rating on this right now is a solid 1.1 out of 10. It is arguably the lowest hardcore worst rated thing ever. Can we blow that up just a little bit? I want to focus on where that arrow is pointing. Santa Inc. This I took the screenshot earlier today. This is from the YouTube page itself of the official trailer for the HBO Max series. There, brilliant, love it, perfect. Thank you, Rebecca. Now, in this case, YouTube has done away with the dislike bar, so you can't see this, but there are extensions you can get for Chrome that restores it to the way it is. That's how we are able to pull this image out. As you can see, as you break this thing down in a few different ways, right now we're sitting at 4,000 likes for this HBO Max trailer, and currently, as of this image, about 10, 11, 12 hours ago, 165,000 dislikes. Arguably, this could be the most lopsided video on YouTube of all time. And I'm also talking about Rebecca Black's Friday video. This is probably arguably worse. As you go a little bit higher up the arrow, you can actually see a topless elf who opened up her shirt when Santa Claus came by that I had to Photoshop Seth Rogen over the top of because I didn't want elf boobs on this show because God knows what that's going to do with the censors over at Fox and Disney. YouTube apparently allows elf boobs.
Boobs.
Yeah. So this was part of my morning to have to superimpose over the top of Claymation elf boobs with a pair of Seth Rogen heads. As you can see, this is something that is curious in a lot of different ways because of the fact that A, we're looking at something that's clearly very raunchy. It is proudly admitted that it's from the creators of Sausage Party. B, has been lambasted in a lot of different various areas. IMDb, YouTube, Variety magazine, Variety down, basically had a bad review of this and a bunch of other things as well. And he has responded and retaliated by calling people white supremacists for disliking the project. Now, I want to break this up a little bit. Ryan, I want to start with you. By the way, we're good on the image. Thank you, Rebecca.
Wait,
Ryan,
while we're on the image, can I just say that
can you pull it back up? I'm sorry, Rebecca. Go ahead, JT.
it was an appropriate censorship to use Seth Rogen there just because he is kind of a tit.
Oh, that's fired right there.
Pow.
Tough crowd.
Zip.
My God.
Zing.
I wanted to look at something. I kind of like scoured through, the internet, and I found this picture. And honestly, the one I used is actually a good picture of Seth Rogen after he dropped a lot of weight. And if you can't zoom it up enough, but he's got a bit of a scowl on his face. And I'm like, you know what? That picture works. So I just cropped it out this morning, dropped it over the top. But Ryan, you apparently did not hate this. By the way, Rebecca, we're good again for real this time. Ryan, you apparently.
Why are you gonna say it like that? Like I'm the oddball here. Like seriously,
dude. Versus the internet, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and everything else. I'm sorry, dude. You might be.
Jeez.
So, but by the way, my name is Scott Churchson. Direct all hate towards me. You look me up. You've seen the hate that I've already gotten after America's Got Talent and everything. Some of the horrible films I've done in my time. So drop it my way. My Twitter's down below. You can just troll me as all you like. So Ryan, defend this project as I throw you under the bus.
All right. Well, thank you for playing Human Shield there for a second.
For only a second.
So I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I did go ahead and I marathoned the whole 8 episodes that were on HBO Max over the weekend. And from what I saw, it's not groundbreaking as far as stop motion animation is concerned, or as far as adult animation is concerned. But I certainly don't think it deserves as much hate as we've been seeing. I honestly think that there might be some truth to the project maybe getting a little lambasted just solely on the purposes of, it's talking ill of Christmas. And it's by Jewish people because you have Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg producing it and Sarah Silverman's the lead. And, what do they know? They're just going to hate on Christmas. I do believe there probably is some truth to that. Is it as much to bring it as low as it has? I don't know. But I would say, as opposed to the numbers it's been getting, I would put it more at mid-level. Like, it's kind of like, did you guys ever watch Adult Swim and see the show Oral Moral?
I know of it,
bits and pieces.
Yeah, and it's similar to that, where it's like it's really trying to strike at some important information, but obviously it's subverted by the more outlandish, crude parts that just really pop up and kind of distract you from the overall narrative. And the story itself is kind of basic. The humor is lowbrow, sure, but considering the projects that some of these people have worked on, it's kind of par for the course. I don't think it's really surprising what you're getting from these people. Now, could it have been better? Sure. I've looked at the producers. I've seen other stuff they've done. If you ever see a show on Netflix called Buddy Thunderstruck, awesome stop motion animation show by the same people. This, it just felt like it was something that they decided, let's just do something Christmassy and be like, fuck it all. I'm sorry for my language, but I mean, that's essentially what Seth Rogen and all of them thought when they did this, because there's really no big creativeness to this. It's as basic as you can get. But is it horrible? Is it terrible? No, it's just basic. And I think if something is basic, you have to treat it at mid-level. You have to give it that consideration that, it's what to expect when you're expecting. You shouldn't have any high hopes. If you thought this thing was going to be like a Disney level animation or a Disney level type story, you're crazy. It's on HBO Max for all sakes. Be lucky you're getting that.
JT, how about you?
I will say some days I really like being a commentator and a reviewer, especially when I'm talking about something that I enjoy, professional wrestling, comics, superhero films. As negative as I sound right now, I'm the person who this is the worst thing that humanity has ever created and we're all going to go to hell for it. No.
Mhm.
I would agree with Ryan to a degree. It is not nearly as bad as people put it. Is it my thing though?
Mhm.
Also, no. I'm not into raunchy comedy. You are talking to probably one of the few people who have never watched an American Pie film.
Okay.
I think I hurt Ryan there.
Well, I've seen parts of the first one. I haven't seen the rest of them.
I saw the first three and then Bandcamp, which was the first direct to DVD one. I never
Ryan's
saw
slowly
like, you know,
dying.
Data House or
He's
You okay, Ryan?
I think, and there he goes. All right, let me call the ambulance.
Quick, what's on the
Though it may
911?
be too late.
That's okay.
So,
All right. I hope it's gonna- okay.
he's back.
That was quick.
So I watched one episode. By the way, when I started watching this, I thought it was a made for TV movie or made for HBO Max movie. And when I started watching it and realized it was like 8 episodes, I saw the first one and I stopped right there.
Okay.
I don't think it was bad, but it's not for me. That's my personal opinion. It is a very raunchy comedy focused towards, in my belief, women. It's a lot of women empowerment and a lot of comedy towards them. I obviously am not that audience. So what am I really going to say? And would you really want my opinion on it anyway? I'm not going to go super negative on it though either. Again, I'm not the audience. How dare I talk anything? Well, I can talk negatively about it, but who cares? I don't know. You guys has anyone here ever watched Married with Children?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the first things I was
Raised on
watching.
that one,
right
basically,
there
my
with
parents
sister.
would sneak it on my in my little bedroom, keep it on quiet. Go ahead.
So that was a TV show about like a very stupid guy, but someone that a lot of people had a hero worship towards, where he was the big dumb guy, but then all the other characters around him were these super feminist women or these like the dumber women and stuff like that. And if you look at this is kind of the same way. It's a woman who feels underappreciated, but she's tough, she's raunchy, she works hard, but all the men and stuff around here are stupid and very sexist. Like I think in the first episode, it kind of ends with some weird thing where they're all going to shave their body hair off and see which way is the heaviest. And then it goes into her and it's like, well, I have hair. You can shave some of mine off and see how heavy that is. The barber goes, I actually, now that I just realized we're kind of like on Fox, so I don't know how far they're going to, they created Married with Children. Anyway, so he's talking at one point about shaving around her private parts, and the barber's like, I don't know how to shave around a vulva. That I could hurt her somehow and kill her reproduction system. I'm like, it's like some people don't know how the reproduction system works. But again, you're writing your characters to make them more negative, to make them more the enemies to fight against, and it's meant, I think, to be exaggerated, just like we've seen in other stuff. I don't know. Again, I can understand where the hate's coming from, but if it's not your thing, I think just kind of move on.
Now, in this case, actually, I'm sorry, Rob. Why don't we go with you before I go into my own thought?
You know what? To be honest with you, I don't even know what it is that you guys are even talking about. But if you're talking about Seth Rogen, then
I love Robert.
I would
always think like
assume
Robert is basically the proxy for the audience. Like we're explaining everything to him.
This particular film. I'm gathering that it has some kind of like what do you want to call it? Like it's meant to shock the audience. Well, the same thing happened a couple of years ago when him and the guy from The Deuce. Come on, Scott.
James Franco.
What's
Franco.
that?
James Franco.
James Franco. Right.
The interview, probably, yeah.
Yeah, the interview. So I think that Seth Rogen is out there just to try and shock audiences to get some sort of rise, that kind of thing. So,
go ahead.
Yes, with that, and keeping on James Franco. Now, remember, James Franco was one of the people canceled maybe a year or two ago because of allegations that came out against him about his treatment of women.
Right.
I am also, and I'm playing conspiracy theory nut here. But I'm wondering if part of the reason that Seth Rogen focused on a female raunchy comedy as opposed to a male version is to try to get into good graces. Because remember, he was very close to James Franco, and he's kind of like on the razor's edge on where he is in public, in terms of I'm trying to think of the word, likability right now to the public. So maybe this was kind of his way of saying, see, I am a feminist and blah blah blah. Even kind of making jokes about it. He played Santa, by the way, in the show, and made references towards being a feminist. So
well, that's my question in this case here, because this actually, all of the blowback on this did remind me a little bit of the hack with Sony, which I have my own theories and I have my own questions about that hack as someone who literally had to go through the process because my private information was with Sony. And I had to go through all the rigmarole when everything got hacked and all that information. It was a pain in my ass. I'm just gonna throw ass out there. It was a pain in my ass to have to resolve all that. Now, I do have a thought and a theory, which I'm going to tie into both projects here, is that nobody heard about either one of them. Rob, you alluded to this. Nobody heard about either one of these projects until the blowback happened. Nobody knew what the interview was. Nobody knew that Seth Rogen and James Franco had this movie. And then suddenly everybody had to see it because of the Sony hack. This series on HBO Max, nobody had heard about this thing. It flew completely under the radar until all the news stuff started to come out, all the tweets, all the commentary, all of the blowback happened. And then people will look at it as morbid curiosity. My take in both of these cases is that the any press is good press is the PR play that they're playing, where they're knowing that they're going to respond with something that is going to be so, outrageous, so provocative that it's going to elicit a reaction. And that reaction is the goal of the end game of all of this. So when he comes out and he labels the haters as quote unquote white supremacists, people are going to comment on that. YouTube is going to comment on that.
Buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the era is right now. Where is it a factor where, a lot of people on YouTube, I've looked at some YouTubers that have talked about this. Where is it that fact that they are so snowflake that they can't take criticism? I don't think so. I think some of them in Hollywood are. But I think Seth Rogen is playing a game here with his PR people and the people at HBO Max, where they're getting the press coverage because of the blowback. Netflix, the Kevin Smith Masters of the Universe, same sort of thing where you've got negative blowback. Suddenly everybody's aware of it. And I see the same sort of thing happening between all three projects here, where you have something which is kind of meh, okay, but suddenly everybody has to see it out of morbid curiosity. I think it's all a PR game. I really do. Go ahead.
You probably keep a track of the numbers a lot better than me, but I get the feeling of the opposite. No, I believe you. I believe that it could be something they're doing to get more attention on their product, but I don't believe it's making people out of morbid curiosity want to watch it more. In fact, I think it's making it more toxic to the point that people don't even want to touch it. Even as a commentator and a reviewer on the show, I still haven't seen He-Man. I wanted to see He-Man, and then after everything came out about it, I lost all interest. Same thing with Ghostbusters. If Ghostbusters wasn't as poisonous as it was in 2016, and I'm talking about the 2016 version, I probably would have watched that one. But after all the blowback on that, I lost complete interest. I'm wondering if they're thinking this, or they're thinking like, oh, people will just watch it anyway. Is it a good strategy?
I think it is. I'm just going to answer this before I turn it back over to you guys. I watched the interview out of morbid curiosity, and I would never have heard about it otherwise.
So, I did too.
But I apologize to interrupt, but with the interview, I never heard any bad. Unless you're from North Korea, I didn't hear anything bad to say about the interview. What? No one in America was like, "Oh, the interview, this is terrible." That one, I think people would still saw. But if it's labeled as a garbage film or a garbage TV show, even if you know about it more than you did before, why would you want to watch a garbage TV show?
Why do people watch The Room and Troll 2?
I think that's.
I got The Room over here. So, but I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Me? No.
Yep. You.
I'm good.
We cut you off,
I steal too much time as it is.
So okay, Ryan.
No, I mean there might be some truth to what you're saying. Like I just said, controversy creates cash. It's stirring the pot just to get people talking about it because otherwise people would probably say it's simple and basic. Better to be the worst thing than to be a forgotten thing.
Yeah.
So I can't deny that may not be that may be strategy. Now, whether or not Seth Rogen felt like it was necessary to do it for this show, I don't know because I'd like to think that he's pretty much been on a good trend up. I mean, he had The American Pickle last year on HBO Max, which some people said was one of his finest acting achievements, and obviously because of the connection that he has with this network, this streaming network, they're like, okay, well, we'll give him some more room to play with. And then he creates possibly one of the things that may make people not want to subscribe to HBO Max, which unfortunately this past year has pretty much been their entire model. Release so many things on HBO Max that it warrants people to want to sign up. And now that we've come to the end of the year and there's really no other movies that are going to be released in theater and on streaming at the same time, this is like the last-ditch effort to try to get people before the new quarterly reviews are going to be coming up for 2022. So, I mean, is it a bit of a long pass or, a last-ditch effort? Maybe. Maybe this is like a big who to do for nothing. And, in a couple of weeks, we'll all forget about it once the new year starts and we're just flooded with so much other media. But,
who knows, though? Who knows? It might be a new trend.
Well, I mean, it's not surprising that we're talking about something that's Christmas-oriented, So,
I think in this case, I think it is the future where if you don't like if somebody doesn't like something that you do, you flame them and you troll them. I think this is now the new norm. I personally will never take that road. I refuse to take that road. And maybe because of the fact that I've been called everything in my entire life, from fetus to now, that I can I will not bow down to that level. I won't.
Who was talking to you when you were a fetus? My God.
Dude, story for another day.
I'm ready for you now.
I mean, you were insulted for your finger skills, and I've never been insulted for my finger skills. So I
literally had someone tell me to
kill myself the other day. Say what you will about me about cursing. I didn't allude to nothing like you two did.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't say anything I'm not allowed to say.
That's
the important part.
He's talking about
this one.
There you go.
But in this case, like I said, I mean, to troll something and to flame something because you need to lash out at what based the fact that someone didn't like your stuff. Again, when I was on AGT, I took it all. I took a lot of heat for that, and it made me depressed. I'm not going to lie; it put me into depression for about 2 weeks. But it also made me a lot tougher, and it's come to an understanding at this point in my life that nobody will like everything you do. You could literally save the world tomorrow. You could make everybody a multimillionaire, cure cancer, eliminate, problems with the ozone layer and all this kind of. You can do all of that tomorrow. Snap of your fingers, Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos in a different approach, and there'll still be people that hate your ass for it. Go ahead.
Very true. I think somewhat me real quick. I'll just say this real fast. One of the reasons I don't like doing topics like this is because we're instantly entering something that's already very polarizing, whether people really hate it or really like it. And as we commentate on it, at this point, people have probably already come up with their opinion. Now they want to see if we agree with their opinion. So whoever's watching this right now is either ready to love us or ready to kill us. And that's the line we kind of walk.
Okay. So basically,
I remember when GT and I would do our podcast and I would come up with topics and he would be looking at me. It's like, I don't want to. We're not going to. And then I subversively slide it in just like at the beginning of the thing. It's like, well, I guess we're on this.
All right. We're going to do an on-air meeting right now. Why not? So in this particular case, so basically this kind of a topic, JT, you're not fond of. Ryan, you are, I think, if I got that right? And Rob, I'm not sure where you stand. So,
I'm the raunchy person, let's say, out of the four of us. So I'm going to lean more towards this than
you were a naked guy in Practical Jokers.
I should say this. I cut this out of the JT and Big O show, so I shouldn't even bring it up here. But one of the very final topics, and this is actually Ryan knows this was one that set me off. So I when I did that show, I used to not really research anything because I worked all week. And like Sunday when we taped was my first day off all week.
Mm.
So I used to leave it to Ryan. I'd tell Ryan, just tell me by Friday morning, because then I can research it on Friday. I'll work all day Saturday and I'll be ready for Sunday.
Okay.
So Saturday afternoon, he gives me a topic saying people are upset because SpongeBob is gay. I know nothing about this topic.
I actually have heard that rumor too, and what to quote Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that, but
no, but it was like, I don't know anything about this topic other than what Ryan wrote in a little thing, which was one sentence. SpongeBob has come out as gay. People are upset.
Okay.
So I go into it, and my opinion, like, I just go like, I don't think SpongeBob is gay because I feel he's an asexual character. And then Ryan goes, well, that is their topic. They don't think he's gay. They think he's asexual. It's like, you didn't write that.
Bait and switches you on this show.
No, not a bait and
by the way,
switch.
JT, I want to
didn't
talk
go
about
into detail. That was my issue.
Yeah, no.
I figured he would have pulled up. I would have figured he would have Googled.
For the record, I just finished celebrating
report.
But
that's why we're canceled.
Hey, any press is good press. Why don't you just finish saying here?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, duly noted in this case. I wanted to, you know what it was? I wanted to kind of try something a little bit more topical, just for poops and grins here, just because of the fact that I hadn't yet, so I wanted to test this out. But I'm happy with whatever basically the majority decides to vote on. Rob is being the penultimate listener right now, and not saying a word, just taking it all in, soaking it in. He's probably sitting there going, "Yes,
Smarter than
exactly
all of us
what
right
they
now.
think, but they don't know what I think. I will not tell them what I'm going to think." Anyway, how you doing up there, dude? You all right?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Sorry,
Just
actually, I'm up there.
yeah, man. I'm tired though. That's the thing. I worked all week last week, and then I'm working. When I'm not working, doing other work. So tonight I'm just like dead beat.
So, all right. So I'm going to duck out at this point. Rob, I'm going to let you run the show. By the way, we're doing a 5-hour show today. So it's not 7:30.
Don't do it.
So we'll be done about midnight, if that's cool.
Yeah, I need to get some sleep too. Rob, good luck. I'll catch you around.
Yeah, he's got to get up early. Ryan, I know that you got to. I don't know. You got to go eat something.
I mean, I'll stick around for Robert, but I'll just be playing on my phone and not reacting to anything.
You'll be like, yeah, that's a very nice kick right there. I like what you did.
He still got to get his face out there.
But no, okay. So all right, like I said, I just wanted to talk a little bit about like I said, with the Seth Rogen thing, because it was a little bit topical. And yes, I'm mildly hoarding the show out for quick views. Let's call it what it is. So. But moving on quickly in this case, I guess at this point, Ryan, by the way, you can always find us on Twitter at Film Set Tales, and as you see down below, Tales from the Film Set on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and also on Instagram as well. Ryan, I know you had some stuff that you wanted to talk about from the corporate level when it came to Disney. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, for those of you who haven't watched previous episodes, we are very slightly, kind of, sort of, in a very small way, parented by the Disney Corporation, which is why we always do what we can to possibly annoy them, but not so much.
It's like being related to Genghis Khan. It's a technicality. So
this is probably bad for me to ask live on the air, but are we Disney or are we Fox?
Yes, we are. Well, Fox is owned by Disney, so
no. Fox TV is a whole separate company, still owned by Rupert Murdoch.
It's not
but that's more sports.
His
other show would be Fox related.
Yeah, no, Zingo I think is owned by Fox itself. I think
so. That would be Rupert Murdoch.
Could be.
So during the day,
which is not Disney.
Murdoch.
Rebecca,
nighttime,
he works for the producer of the show. Who owns this? Who owns the show that we have right now? We know it's Zingo, but if you go all the way up the chain, is it Disney? Is it Fox? Is it? I don't know. Is it some dude named Frank over in Liechtenstein or something? It's like, yes, I know.
That Frank. He treats us well. Yes.
Okay. So, but
anyway, from distracting you on that, Ryan, you were going to say stuff.
No, because this actually plays into something that you and I talked about last year, actually. If you remember how we were talking about Bob Iger stepping down as the CEO of Disney and replacing him with the other Bob, Chapek, who,
Hi, Bob.
let's face it, he's had a rough couple of years. Just putting it out there.
Which one?
Well, Chapek.
Yeah.
Iger's been doing fine. He'll be good until the day he dies. But Chapek, I mean, between the Genie Plus at the parks and all the controversy with Scarlett Johansson and the rollout with some of the movies, I mean, it's not surprising that the saving grace this December right now, the new Spider-Man movie, which is a Sony movie, but obviously Disney has his hand in it. And there's a lot of news, a lot of stuff flooding out about that and other characters being introduced and people getting sequels, a lot of distraction. But I personally say the biggest Disney news right now is that Bob Chapek, the CEO of the whole company, has a new boss. And that's what I really like to see, because the thing is, when Bob Iger has been controlling things ever since like the mid-2000s to now, basically, he was CEO and chairman of the board. He controlled everything. He was top dog. Everything flowed through him. The acquisitions of Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel, Fox, obviously. Everything has been on his watch. That's pretty much going to be his legacy, this crowning achievement of all this media being under the Disney banner. And some would argue that, he wouldn't have had that kind of power if he wasn't commanding both roles. And then when he replaced Chapek, had Chapek replace him as CEO, everyone thought Chapek was going to go ahead and take the role of chairman of the board as well. It was like a foregone conclusion because Bob had personally picked him and because no one else had done that since before Bob Iger. And look at what Iger did. So why not give it to the same person? But that's not the way it's gone. So Chapek, in all of his irrelevant glory, now has a new chairman of the board on top. That is going to be Suzanne Arnold, a woman who has been on the board ever since 2007. So she has been a part of the Disney company. She hasn't been someone who's just been brought in. She's worked for Procter & Gamble. She's worked for McDonald's. She's well-educated. She's well-versed in all the things that are going to have to come with being part of that board of elected officials that pretty much govern everything. And the funny thing is, she's also the one who, mind you, Bob still takes care of all the day-to-day, but he has to run everything through her now. So there's going to be some checks and balances. It's a long time since we've had this kind of dynamic in Disney where you're going to have these two people kind of like, not necessarily butting heads, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not she has any influence on anything going forward now that there's going to have to be a dialogue as opposed to one man's will.
What do you think for the next 5 years?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think something to think about for those who are not too familiar with different business structures, or if you paid attention to politics the last few years, basically like the CEO would be like the president of the United States and the board would be Congress. So really, just kind of as Ryan was saying, Bob will be still taking care of the day-to-day because he really is still the one in charge of the company. He decides everything. He makes sure he's the one who makes sure that everything is going. She is going to be in charge of the board. What they do is they make sort of like the behind the scene decisions on it, like who's in charge of the company, what direction should they go, but they really don't have any real power on it other than deciding who is in power. So
basically,
I think
to put it in movie terms, if you ever see a scene in a top of an office, like, the main room, and you see that big long table with all the chairs going down the side, she is now at the head of the table. She is that single seat, window behind her, guiding everything. And Bob is going to have to walk from his seat up to her.
But I think what's going to happen here is Bob is now in a little more danger. And I love how we call him Bob and not Chapek because we're all afraid we're going to screw up that name. So Bob is still going to make decisions, but now he's under the microscope and he hasn't been doing good over the last 2 years. So if he continues to have failures, she could possibly decide to remove him.
Mhm.
I think the other bigger worry is Bob trying to make big moves because he's been butting heads as well with Kevin Feige. I always screw up his last name.
Feige, yeah.
Feige. I don't know why I want to call him Feige. Feige.
Well, if you look at
So-
it, Feig, Feig.
Now, this is a guy who was in charge of the parks and not the entertainment, the media division of this. And he already was arguing with Kevin over certain decisions. So if he gets afraid that he'll get fired because of bad decisions on that end, he may try to look for a scapegoat. And I wonder if Kevin, if I don't think Spider-Man is going to fail. I think that's going to do good. But if Marvel has any other failures, I wonder if this will affect Kevin as well.
Well, that's the thing, because this year has probably been the first year that I'd say we really saw some bends in the armor as far as Marvel's concerned. You have the whole Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson contract issue. You had the rollout of the films being both on Disney Plus and in theaters, which some would say hurt the bottom line of the film's releases.
I don't know if we talked about this, but with the internals, can we point out the fact that they hired a director who had no experience making an action film?
We have not mentioned that. We probably should.
Well, obviously they were going for
there you go
with something like that. So whether or not it was a hit or a miss, obviously the worldwide box office is pretty good for it, but our American sensitivity
is still Disney and MCU. That's why. If that wasn't Disney and MCU, it probably wouldn't have done as well.
Possibly. Maybe if they went the DC route and just made it like a standalone movie without trying to make it part of the bigger universe and like rewriting some things, people may have gravitated more towards it here in the States. But
and since we are talking about Disney, this is something else I wanted to actually mention real quick. Disney Plus is not doing good.
It had the surge of subscribers, but as of this past year, it's very much down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hawkeye, which by the way, our group here has actually been watching and reviewing it. We'll be reviewing we'll doing a watch party of episode 4 tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I've enjoyed that. I believe you gentlemen have enjoyed that show. But now I'm listening to some of the other people who watch it. Apparently, a lot of other people don't really like that show. And that's actually been, I think, one of the lowest watched Marvel shows on Disney Plus so far.
By the way, I'm looking at the numbers for subscribers worldwide for Disney Plus. 2020 quarter one, there was a 26.5 million. Quarter two of 2021, so about 6 months ago, it was 103 million, then 106, and right now, fourth quarter is 118 million worldwide. So the growth seems to be slowing down a little bit right now.
Well, no, I was just thinking though that they just now put out that Peter Jackson's 3-part Beatles, documentary thing. So I mean, I know that that's being pushed big time. So maybe those numbers are gradually going up because of the fact that maybe that's just one offering that Disney Plus is offering. So.
Well, yeah, outside of the traditional Christmas fare that they always go ahead and try to throw up on there. At least that's what they did last year. You've got something for the Beatles, which is something for an older audience, trying to get older people to subscribe to Disney Plus as opposed to just family
if I may
and younger folks.
Jump in while we're talking about the Beatles real quick. I mean, I'm not the biggest Beatles fan in the world. But I'm cleaning out VHS tapes. You remember VHS tapes?
No.
Among the
and I'm older than you guys.
Among the tapes I have is a Beatles documentary from the 90s. Really, how much has changed since 30 years ago? Well, I don't know how many people are really like maybe a big music fan. Rob, you sound like you're really intrigued by it, but I don't know how many people.
I happen to like the Beatles. I mean, I being a child of the 70s, listening to them. No, I think that what's going on is not just the fact that it's another Beatles documentary, but the fact that he was able to, do the video or the visual aspect is a little different.
I've seen some clips. It is crisp. You wouldn't even think it was like done back then.
Right. So, I mean, that's just part of it. I think that being, older gentleman,
I like how you pause there. It's like, how do I want to phrase this?
just that, like, I think that to have something other than just, like Cinderella or something like that, that's available on Disney Plus, that, you know, to get the older audience, you got to have content that people want to watch. And so by being broad like that,
I think it's a smart move. I think you're right on this because the Beatles hits Book of Boba Fett, the MCU stuff. If you got Disney Plus, you have Disney Plus. You're not necessarily going to get rid of it, but pulling in new folks is going to require a new approach. Netflix, I think you've ever heard, Netflix is going to gaming right now. They're doing some other things right now to try and branch out and expand what they're doing as far as their subscribership goes. Disney with the Beatles, which is a great start, is a great way to be able to start getting attraction there. Looking at the numbers right now on Rotten Tomatoes, look at the IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 92% audience score, 93% on critic. On IMDb, on 8,100 reviews, it has a 9.3 rating. So people are liking what they're seeing there, but it's not MCU. It's not MCU. It's not Disney. It's not like Star Wars. It's not something that you're used to with Disney. They're going to have to start working in high-profile things in different arenas. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney started doing live sports.
Well, if I can bring this up, because here's the thing with live sports. If you know anything about the Disney Plus bundle, they have the ESPN Plus, which you can get as part of the subscription.
Technically,
that's your sports right there. And then they talk about like any of the Fox properties that they're trying to go ahead and make new movies or series about, like Alien and Predator. That's more than likely going to go end up on Hulu because they're a more mature fare network, whereas Disney Plus, they're trying to stay more family friendly. So it's like they have all these eggs, but they're in 3 different baskets. And that might be part of the problem for Disney Plus because they have one sole direction that they're going into. And I would almost wonder, considering Encanto just came out a couple of weeks ago, but it's the first movie that they've really had that's come out in theaters solely, as opposed to, the $30 premium that you can pay to watch it at home. One can only wonder if maybe they should have put it on Disney Plus, so this way it helped attract a little more attention to signing up. And personally, I love the movie. I'm man enough to admit I cried at the end. I do that sometimes.
All right, respect.
And I have to. And when you have a movie that's about a family, that's about like all these different characters living together in one home, that's almost like the perfect movie to go ahead and just sit at home instead of going to the theater to watch. But obviously they wanted to try to make their gains, and it had a good opening, but I don't know if it's going to have legs for the next couple of weeks, especially when Spider-Man hits.
But I think
it's not family. Dom has to be watching it.
Well, I mean, here's my take. In this case here, you could have it released in theaters. You can have kid parties, where you get the group get together, kids right out of the theater, that kind of stuff can work. You can always release it and plug the fact that you released it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
That is always your backup option. It's gotten good reviews. It's got a 7.6 on IMDb based on 9,600 reviews there.
Oh, so you on social media, that whole "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song, it's an earworm that will stick in your head. I cannot get it out still.
If I could stick on streaming networks real quick, Ryan, you and I for 2 years have been discussing this. It's gotten so insane now. Like Disney has 3 of them. Then you have Netflix. Then you have Peacock. Then you have Paramount, which replaced CBS All Access.
Don't forget Amazon Prime. Don't forget Crackle.
Then you have Amazon Prime. Then HBO Max. Oh, and Amazon Prime
stuff like Funimation, Crunchyroll.
Amazon Prime has actually started making deals with them so that the actual streaming content of Paramount and Peacock and Showtime and Stars, you can pay 99 cents for the next 2 months to watch that all through Amazon Prime instead of those other channels.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where it's like the streaming networks that we know of aren't like an amalgamation of different channels like Paramount is. Some things are just on their own, like AMC Plus.
Yeah.
Who is that much of a fan of AMC that you're willing to pay extra for a whole other network as opposed to the cable channel itself?
Don't forget IMDb TV that's free,
Oh my god!
I forgot. There is an IMDb TV. That's right.
Yeah, it is.
Like it'd be different if they had like a particular identity, like Shudder, where it was just like all horror oriented stuff, all movies. Give me like an all comedy streaming network or something like that, or an all like TCM, like Turner Classic Movies.
Mhm.
Put all the black and whites in their own thing rather than it being part of HBO Max, because that in itself is probably a wealth of media.
But back in
Instead,
the
it gets lost in HBO Max because it's hardly ever promoted.
But it's instead of like we're back in the day, you paid $100-$200 a month for cable, so you get all these different channels. When Netflix came out, you were just paying like around $8.99 a month, and then maybe another thing like, hey, I'm an anime fan, I'll watch Crunchyroll too. I'll pay $6 for that a month. That was fine. But now, if you want to keep up with everything big, you need your HBO Max, your Disney Plus, your Paramount, your Peacock, your Netflix.
Each one
And suddenly it
costs
starts
you
adding up to the
$20.
same price that the cable companies did.
Yeah.
And then there's also obviously the cost of the internet itself, because you need the
Yes.
internet to take care of all that, and it needs to be strong enough.
Yeah.
So
Which
by
came
the time
from your
you
old-
include the internet price, which is usually like $50 to $60 a month on its own for a single person,
And that's
then
actually
include
going up.
all the
That's going to probably
subscriptions.
be because cable companies are the ones who've been providing internet. So making up for that $200 a month that they used to have, they're probably going to start charging more for that eventually. It'll probably be $100 internet bill or a $200 internet bill.
It already is.
I just currently was reviewing my cable bill. I was able to get in at Cablevision for fairly cheap, but I'm pretty sure that here in the next year or so that it's going to go up and everything. But if you call up your cable company and say, "Hey, I want something better," they're going to give you something better. You just have to.
No, they don't. I used to work for one. I used to work for Cablevision.
Okay.
Two, I'm currently a Cablevision customer.
Yeah.
We argue every month with them because they are taking more money out of our bill than they should be taking. And when we call them and tell them this, they go, okay. And they never refund us. And then they take additional extra money out of the bill. They've actually been taking more money than they should be, and they're not correcting this. And the only way to really correct it is to cancel it, which if you work from home like me and need the internet, you can't do that. Cable companies still had a monopoly on this area. I can't get FiOS.
I love it when JT goes off on like something like
it's cool, man.
I don't work for him anymore. They can't fire me.
But in summation, Susan Arnold, new chairman of Disney Company, help us out here. Either put all the streaming networks in one place, give us one price, let that be it, or give us more reason to want to subscribe. You're in charge now.
Well, here's another thing that I was just thinking about that. Again, Bob is the one in charge. If she starts pushing around her power to tell him to do that stuff, the only thing she can do is tell him that. And when he says no, fire him and replace someone else. And if that causes other errors at Disney, then the stockholders come in and push her out. So I don't think she's going to rock the boat that hard.
Yeah. The Disney
she'll definitely make sure that the line is towed, I would say.
Yeah.
Make sure that we don't have any more things that may make the company look bad. Like, maybe the CEO not showing up to D23 because he has other appointments or something of that nonsense.
Whoops.
Which did happen.
I'm just really impressed that JT got somebody from Cablevision on the phone.
Yeah,
I tried.
It took being former employee for that.
Dude,
it's like I know the right phone numbers.
But after the show, please tell me what those numbers are. Because I spent 45 minutes being circled around in the automated directory. I'm not joking, 45 minutes. And I swore until I was hoarse. And I was actually, my throat was shot. Because it's designed specifically that you cannot get a human body on the phone. And eventually what they do is they force you, strong arm you into going online and filling it out all that way.
Yeah, you do it publicly through Twitter, man. That's how you do it.
Yeah, they know that.
Well, you know what happened? I think most of these companies know now that, complaining will only go so far. I love Verizon. I actually called them up to pay them to give them money, and I couldn't get an operator. And when you used to be able to hit 0 every time until they give up, fine, talk to a human being. Verizon designed their phone system that if you keep hitting 0, it goes, sorry, goodbye, and hangs up the phone on you.
They're getting smarter with that now. Now it's funny. I just want to mention this. When I need to get my union health insurance people on the phone. This is the actual automated. I have it memorized. You dial the number 1251, Social Security number 12. That is the order that I have to go in every single time to get to an actual live body. And I'll say it again: 1251, your Social Security number 1 and then 2. That's how I have to go through and navigate. I had to talk to them. I had to talk to them something, and my wife had to call. She's like, "Do you remember what the numbers are?" It's like, "Yeah, let me just email it to you. I'm just gonna email you the order and process."
You know what's going to happen, Scott? Now that you have that memorized, you're going to get that call the next time you go and go, our options have recently changed.
Yeah, our options have recently changed because of the 2004 presidential election. They always said they've recently changed, but they never do.
All right, guys. I hate to be the young person in the room and be like, okay, we gotta stop yelling at clouds here. But we do only have about 5 minutes left in the show, and if there's any other topics we want to talk within the realm of film and television,
we're gonna have to start
stepping off the soapbox.
Well, this is a pop culture show as well, though, Ryan. So
yeah,
we talk about
Verizon, the unions are part of pop culture, right?
Remember when you have to press 0 all the time to get to the operator?
I feel like this kind of reminds me of like Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon. I can't say it on air, but that whole bit where he just talks about how you get screwed. I think he did that in 2, 3, and 4. He talked about it. It was like the Joe Pesci bit from Lethal Weapon. The best, probably one. The movies got better once he joined them. The first one was very action oriented, and then you got Joe Pesci going, okay, we're gonna talk about So,
I remember the first one actually a lot more than I remember the others. I got to watch 2 again one day, but it's been so many years.
2 is kind of the forgotten one, I think.
Aren't they? They're coming out with a new one, right?
They've been talking about that. They've been talking about a Lethal Weapon 5.
Right.
Is Chris Rock going to return in it after 20 years?
Wasn't
dude, I think all of them.
I can't think of names.
Mel Gibson?
Mel Gibson was supposed to direct or something, right?
He is actually, according to this, he's going to direct as of last month, November 15th.
Right. He is a good director.
Yeah. And honestly, if you saw him in Expendables 3, I wasn't big on Expendables 3, but if you saw him in that, dude,
he was the best part of it.
What's that?
Like, comparatively to the fact that, all the old guys are back and they're bringing in young people to replace them, but they don't replace them. But Mel Gibson was the best thing about that movie. So much so that they are going to be making a 4th one, which is scary enough.
Which honestly they can pull it off, I think. But you know what? That's a topic for next week, and I'm looking forward to that because I think we should tackle those, the Lethal Weapon Expendables movies here. Let me just close on this one mention. The Lethal Weapon movie, the new one is being, the scriptwriter did The Equalizer, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, and some other stuff as well. And it's exclusive to HBO Max, so there's no theatrical release. I love that. Nice. So, all right, we got to wrap this up. So, thank you. I know, like I said, this is a little bit more of a provocative start of the show than we normally typically have.
Lots of ranting and raving.
What's that? Yes, stupid clouds. But for Mr. JT McGuire, Mr. Robert Leckington, and Mr. Ryan O'Regan, I think I did that right. I can't always tell. Yes. My name is Scott Schertzen. One more time, you can find us on Twitter at Filmset Tales and on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and also YouTube at Tales from the Film Set down there. For me, I'm Scott Schertzen. Like Ryan mentioned, check us out on Twitch and YouTube as we're going to be doing a watch party for Hawkeye Episode 4 tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's probably around midnight or 1 a.m. in Europe. And I do not know what time that would be in Kazakhstan. You'd have to look that up. But anyway, for the 4 of us, have a great night. Take care. Be awesome.
Oh, good night, Kazakhstan. Didn't know we had people there.
Greatest country in the world.
Nice.
Yeah.